Hello and welcome to today's Yumbles seller interview. My name is Katie Kittery and I'm one of the founders of Yumbles. And I'm delighted today to be speaking with an incredibly creative baker based in London. So without further ado, Stephanie, if I can ask you to introduce yourself and your business.
Of course, yes. I'm Steph and I am the owner of Bake by Steph. We're an e-commerce-led bakery in East London. And you probably know us best. We sell a variety of baked goods with a real emphasis on creativity. So you might know us for our famous face cookies or custom message boxes. Basically, we sell edible art, Katie, is what I like to think about it.
That is actually how I almost introduced you, to be honest. For sure, it's art. It's incredible. If anyone hasn't seen the Instagram reels of how you do it as well, I don't know how how you don't mess up, basically. Whenever I try and ice anything, it's globs everywhere, but it's beautiful the way that you ice your cookies and really fun designs. I love the Crying Kim and all of these fantastic designs that you have.
Oh my gosh. I mean, first of all, we definitely do mess up sometimes. But yeah, I mean, our Crying Kim products, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. I think we really like to stay, relevant and keep on top of like pop culture moments. So yeah, we're trying to always capture that and put that into our products.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they're fantastic. So I think what would be great to start off with is a bit of an idea of like, when did you start your business and what were the early days like, and what was the inspiration for your business as well? Why did you decide to take the crazy leap into running your own food business?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a crazy leap. It's all been a bit of a whirlwind. So it's been 5 years since I officially, I guess, started a business. It all started as a bit of a happy accident, if I'm honest. I was baking in my spare time as kind of a stress relief after a very busy day working full time in my job in digital design. And I started an Instagram page really with the intention of my mum and some friends just following my journey. And I started getting requests from, friends of friends, complete strangers, just via DMs, asking if they could buy what I was making. And I was like, sure, I guess. Had no idea how to price it, had no idea, how to go about selling anything really. But it kind of grew quite rapidly online via Instagram. And I just realized it was an opportunity to make a career out of something that I absolutely loved doing. And there did come a day that a very big brand reached out and asked for a very large order of cookies. So at the time I was baking cakes, but I was also hand icing cookies. And there was this moment that I don't know why I came home one day and I was like, you know what? I'm going to ice a Balenciaga sneaker onto a biscuit. I don't know why. It just came into my head. But that was this kind of moment of eyes on my Instagram page from bigger brands. And when they reached out, I realized, okay, there is actually a business opportunity here because they'd got in touch, they told me their budget, and I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
There's the potential here to turn this into a successful business. So it was quite a rapid 3-month process from starting the Instagram.
So 3 months from having your Instagram for your mum to actually thinking, let's do this as a business.
Yeah, from the moment of taking the Instagram page seriously, I guess.
Right.
And
Okay.
people reaching out to ask for orders.
Yeah.
Within a 3-month period, I bit the bullet and I couldn't keep up. I was working, to give you an indication, there was one night where I got home from my full-time job at 8 p.m. I had a quick bite to eat. I started baking and I went to bed at 4 a.m. And that was quite a regular occurrence for me.
Yeah.
Which obviously that's not very good for your body. So I was in a position where I actually had to make a decision. And I just knew there was no way I was going to give up the opportunity of turning a passion into a career. Yeah. So I took a risk and I'm really glad I did. And within a short time of quitting my full-time job, I was in a position where I could hire a commercial bakery. And that was 2019. Right. And then it's been kind of rapid growth since then.
Wow. And you said you're e-commerce led. So still to this day, is your sales really coming from Instagram, your own website, Yumbles? You're very much an e-commerce sales business.
Very much so. I think you know, we ship across the UK. The beauty of our product is that we can send it in the post.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've focused on being a production bakery and shipping out further afield. We do have our corporate clients in London
Yeah.
as well, but the focus and the emphasis really is on our e-commerce sales across other platforms and our own website.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. And so 5 years in, how big's your team? So you're still in London. I saw you recently, although maybe it wasn't recently, you moved to new premises. So how big's the team now?
So we have a core permanent team of 13, and then we tend to grow, bring on like seasonal icers and bakers at really busy times of year.
Yeah, yeah.
Christmas is a busy one for us.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is for you too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we tend to expand and then contract throughout the year, but 13 is the core team.
Okay, fantastic, great. So what for you, in this 5 years, I feel like you've done a lot in 5 years. What for you is like a real standout milestone for your business that you've really taken a lot of pleasure from reaching?
There's been a few. One that I'm super proud of is you did mention that we moved premises, and this isn't so much a business related, I guess, but we were hit, as a lot of businesses were, by COVID. We actually found ourselves without a bakery. The lease had ended at a time when every estate agent in the land was furloughed, and I couldn't get another premises. So managing to secure premises at the height of lockdown was a personal achievement for me.
Mm.
And you know, the bakery that we're in at the moment, a lot of that was just me building chairs and tables with my own two
I
hands.
saw your Instagram footage
Yeah.
of it, yeah.
It was really a case of like, if I don't do it myself, it won't get done because there's nobody available to help me here.
Yeah.
I also, you know, I'm Irish, so my family and friends live in Ireland. So it really was kind of a crazy period of having to build a bakery from scratch. And of course, since I've done it, I've had team members massively improve it and add to it and make it so much better. But that is a really proud moment for me.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
And I think as well, just from a business perspective on the retail front, we got stocked in Selfridges last year, and you know, we're stocked on with a lot of different retailers, but seeing your product in a physical store as an e-commerce brand, and that is always going to be our focus. I don't know, there was just something about that felt really great. Seeing a product on a shelf,
Yeah.
even if it is just a small moment, it was kind of like going back to being a 4-year-old playing shop in the
Yeah.
playing room, you know,
Yeah.
selling a physical product. I did love that. It was a great moment for me.
Yeah, and I think that is it. We're still, traditionally minded in terms of, seeing a product on a shelf. That's a great feeling, I'm sure. Okay, fantastic. And what for you, since you quit your old career and you've embarked on this new one, what are you loving most about running your bakery business?
I think for me, I mean, no 2 days are the same. I think anyone who has their own business can definitely attest to that. I love getting to work so closely with the product.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I started the business. It wasn't so much to start a business, but it was to be able to be creative and bake and find more and more fun ways to turn something edible into something that puts a smile on your face or makes you go, whoa, what the hell? This is a cookie. That's what I get to spend most of my time thinking about and doing. So that is by far the best part for me. Do I get to do that every single day? No. Running a business also means I have to do a million other things,
Yeah.
but there are those days where I'm like, what, if I'm designing something or I'm going out researching, like, wow, this is my job. This is what I get to do every day. This is amazing. I get to be so close to a product and have the freedom and the ability to change it if I want to, or if I see something cool or have a cool idea, I can bring that to life quite easily.
Yeah, it must be incredibly rewarding to have a great creative idea and execute it like that.
That is the best part for sure.
Yeah. And as anyone who runs their own business knows, it can be incredibly challenging. You have to wear so many hats. You've had to build your bakery physically. What have you found as kind of one of the most challenging aspects of running your business?
I think the past few years have been challenging just in terms of where we are as a market and in terms of, supplier costs going up and ingredient costs going up. And you really, the thing that I find most challenging is you have to be on top of it. I don't mean every week, like every day. You have to be aware of pricing. You have to be aware of shipping restrictions coming on. I mean, we were shipping to Europe for a while, and then the Brexit the new Brexit regulations coming in, the amount of paperwork and customs, that's something we had to pivot so quickly and just decide, actually, as a small business, that's not something we can really take on right now. So, okay, well, what are we going to do instead? And it's constantly making sure that we're having that conversation as a team, that's taking on board the bigger picture. And that is really challenging. That is a lot of brain power every day, to make sure that our pricing is right, and that we are, our product is right, that we are doing everything in line with food safety regulations. It's just, being aware of the bigger picture at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, I feel like in the last 2 to 3 years, it's been, for me, amongst the busiest or most volatile period for food businesses in particular. When you think you've had Brexit, you've had food inflation, you've had the Royal Mail strikes, you've had COVID, you've had, it's been such a succession of big impact things in such a short space of time. I think what you mentioned is true for so many food producers. It's been incredibly, like, a lot of big changes happening on a regular basis. So
and all of those relate to, workload and cost of ingredient increase. But the backdrop to that is also a market, cost of living crisis, where people don't have as much money to spend. None of us do, as they did. So as an e-commerce brand, you're constantly trying to think, okay, how can we attract more viewers to our brand that are willing to part with their money for, what are we giving them that's so great that, they would want to spend money on it? And how can we make sure our product is really attractive and worth every penny that you're spending, because they're precious pennies these days. And that is always, it's a difficult place to be in, but I do love a challenge.
And no, you're exactly right. And I think that's the growing ethos and sentiment in our space, is that, okay, the pricing, the pressures are there from customers are feeling the pressure, you're feeling the pressure from a supply chain point of view. So let's make sure we deliver on the value. We can't be competing always on the price. It's really got to be massively value led. I mean, premium products like yours always will be, but I think, like you said, every penny is extra precious these days. So how do we really make sure we deliver and delight customers? So you mentioned there a little bit food inflation. So, because that's obviously a big topic of discussion the last 12 months, really. So it sounds like food inflation has affected your business. How have you kind of navigated that? Are there any tips and tricks or approaches that you've taken with that?
I'll be really honest. I mean, I think for us, it's always trial and error. I don't think, especially as a small business, we don't have anyone that's done like a business degree, an MBA, or anyone on board the team that has that kind of expertise that's going to have the magic answers. It really is for us just constant team discussions and deciding what we want to do as brand. And so far we have managed to avoid passing those costs on to our customers. That's been an important conversation for us. Our ingredients have gone up, our packaging costs have gone up, our electricity bill has gone up. Everything's going up, but we, I think our ethos has just been to be even more careful on what we spend elsewhere, and to make sure we're negotiating deals with suppliers all the time, so that we can avoid putting our prices up, because I know a lot of brands are doing that, and because they have to, it's a necessity, and we all get it. And that's not to say we maybe won't get there someday, but right now that's our focus. We're just trying to be more savvy elsewhere, so that it doesn't touch what we're creating. It's really hard. It is hard.
You're being squeezed. Absolutely. It is. There's no easy answer there, really, is there? Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. So in terms of, over the 5 years of running your business, what are some kind of go-to resources of any kind that you have found really invaluable to help you?
I think, above all else, I do like to stick with the old gut instinct. That's kind of where I started the business. I like to stay on top of trends. I like to keep abreast of what's going on in the industry. I do spend most mornings drinking my coffee and just kind of searching food industry blogs for what's going on, who's being bought in where, what are the new products. I do love to stay on top of all of that. And I often go to LinkedIn, funny enough, to find any like documents on packaging trends, or there's a whole lot of resources on LinkedIn. I don't know if you've ever kind of searched there, but there's a lot you can find, which is fantastic. And a lot of the third-party platforms that we work with as well, Yumbles in particular, tend to send us a nice little guide for the year ahead, which I always find very helpful, especially around key seasonal times like Christmas. So I love to stay on top of all of that. But I definitely think one thing I've learned over the past 5 years is anytime that I've tried very hard to follow a trend, it has backfired on me. In that I think as long as it's backed up by your gut instinct. So you have to trust as a business owner that you know your product best and that you are doing all you can to know your audience. And I think if you get those two things right, that's kind of that magic spot for me anyway, where I can really trust, like I can sit with something and decide, okay, does this feel right for me?
Yeah.
And I to put that into more practical terms, from things as simple as, should we change the color of our packaging? Should we introduce this product? Is this character on a cookie going to be popular for our audience? Is this something that's gonna hit the market well? So I think one thing that I've just really tried to do over the past 5 years is learn to listen to how I'm feeling about it on the inside, which is very difficult because when you own a business, there's so many bits of advice out there. There's so many trends to follow. It can get a bit noisy.
Yeah.
So
I think that's really great advice. I think, particularly for your nature of business, you're so creative. You could go so many different directions. But I think what I think is really strong about your business is you have such a clear point of view and differentiation. Like your brand is like no other iced biscuit brand out there. It translates across your range, your designs, your branding, your packaging. You've got a very unique point of difference, a very unique perspective. So I think that's great advice to kind of really kind of lean into that and keep understanding, who are we? There's all these other things going on, but who are we? Who's our customer? And taking the ideas that fit within that. I think that, and like you said, listening to your gut, that's a great, often, like you say, hard to do, but I think that's been key a lot to your success, is your customers really know who you are and what you're about, know what to expect from you, know the bar is high. Great. And so if you were to go back, in 5 years, I'm sure you've learned a hell of a lot. If you were to go back, 5 years, what would you do? Is there anything you would do differently? And if so, what, in terms of how you built out your business?
It's such a funny one, isn't it? Because of course I'd probably do a million things differently, but would I still be where I am right now if I'd changed anything? I think a lot of the mistakes I've made along the way have been the most valuable moments in growing a business, because you learn from them. If you're not learning from them, okay, that's a different story. But from accidentally putting an extra zero at the end of how many kilos of flour that we were ordering one time, and
ouch,
that cost us a lot. Never again. I think one of the hardest things as a business owner is staying on top of the legal side of things, in terms of the amount of contracts you're signing when you're negotiating brand deals, or even just joining new online partners. So I actually do think one thing I would do differently is retain some legal advice along the way. I don't know about other brand owners, but I tend to find myself kind of doing things at 1 a.m, signing contracts because there's a deadline tomorrow and it just needs to get done. Sometimes the contract part just feels like the final hurdle.
It seems like the admin rather than fundamental. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen the latest Black Mirror episode, but it kind of revolves around how we just kind of sign T's and C's left, right, and center without really.
Oh gosh, no, I need to see it. Is that the one with Salma Hayek? I haven't seen the latest yet. Yeah.
It doesn't disappoint, but it'll make you think about agreeing to things so off the cuff again. But I think I've definitely been guilty of that along the way. And I think when you're growing a brand, as I was growing the brand, I did focus so much on product, because that's the fun bit. That's the best part, right?
Yeah.
But it is important to also get professional advice along the way as well. I know I just said trust in your gut, but there's certain things that my gut does not know about, and that's law for a start.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be, you can't be an expert in everything.
You can try.
Yeah, you can try. All right, perfect, great. So final question then, because you are such an e-commerce-led business and you've been on Yumbles successfully for just over 2 years now, as we realized, what would you say are kind of 3 top tips for kind of building an e-commerce business?
I think so. Outside of the Yumbles platform, we have our own website as well. And to be very honest, I had an absolute terrible couple of years because we were on the wrong platform. And it caused a lot of headaches and a lot of pain. So I think first and foremost, making sure the platform that you're on is so important. Like these days, there's so many options that are available that are great
Yeah.
off the shelf. I went on a bespoke route, which was a big mistake. So I think just making sure that from a internal point of view, making sure the platform you're using works and can give you good analytics and reports and is easy to use
Mm-hmm.
as a very base level. I
Mm-hmm.
think from an external perspective, making sure, something we work really hard on is our product imagery, making sure it's really clear and looks the best it can look, and
Mm-hmm.
that the descriptions that back it up are written to our customers. They're not they're written like a human. I think
Yeah.
you really want to we take a lot of extra care to make sure that everything we're saying feels personal
Mm-hmm.
and it's like the person's in the room with us and we're trying to explain the best parts of the product to them.
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't know if that's just a brand thing for us, but
Yeah.
I when
No,
I'm shopping as well, like that's what I like to see.
yeah, yeah. I mean that is unique to your brand, that tone of voice that you have. But I think what's the good lesson for all brands is to not forget and neglect the description. Your products aren't on shelves. Your products are being sold online. The pictures, number one, for sure. They're not even going to have another look if the pictures aren't strong and appealing. But then they are going to read the description. They need the information. They want to be sold, and the description is the chance to sell it to them. And to have that brand voice and to have what's special about your products come out in that description. So that's great advice, because it often gets forgotten, the descriptions. It's kind of, oh, admin, this is a box of chocolates and off we go.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes when you do navigate websites, you kind of get that feel that it is just like a bullet point checklist of what you're buying, which is helpful to have that as well.
Yeah.
But I think in an e-commerce era where we're not selling human to human or person to person anymore, that is your opportunity to interact. That's your shop window. That's the first time you get to interact with a customer. So that's your stage to say and to introduce yourself and introduce the product. And then I think beyond that, the key thing for us is just data. So we're checking what's working on our website every single day, and also importantly what's not working, and we try to be led as much as possible by the actual data rather than what we necessarily think. So we can be fooled very quickly when we think we've got a great idea for the website, whether it's a campaign, promotion, running a discount, or a hero banner that we're trying to attract people into another part of the website, and then we check the data and it's like, that didn't work. And you have you have to leave your ego aside, be willing to take the data on board and pivot and try something new. And it's just, you've got such a wealth of data available these days with all the tools you have online. So you'd be a fool not to be using it, checking it. So that's how we navigate our website anyway.
Absolutely. No, that's great advice. I don't know how many food businesses are looking at things like their abandoned baskets at checkout. I mean, there's so many metrics that most e-commerce platforms now will give you that can tell you things very quickly. Oh no, we've put our shipping charge up. The drop off is too big. We might need to revisit that, or whatever the case may be. So that's a great, a great piece of advice. Just do check the data. Great, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing your story and your pearls of wisdom. It was definitely illuminating for me, and I'm sure for anyone who will watch this. So yeah, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Katie. It's been a real nice pleasure having a little chat today. It's been very, very comfortable. It's been lovely.
Good, that's how it should be. All right, thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks so much.